and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Israel Mandrake. A little bit more about Israel. Israel Mandrake has spent years perfecting his skills with 30-plus top mentors, having learned from some of the founding fathers of modern hypnotherapy, such as Dr. Orman McGill, legendary author of the Encyclopedia of Hypnosis, Dr. Scott Lewis, longest-running Las Vegas performer and clinical hypnotist, Dr. Steve Jones, clinical hypnotist and NLP trainer, specializing in high-performance mindset training for executive entrepreneurs and athletes. Unwilling to stop there, Mandrake has continued to add his own personal innovations to create some of the most potent techniques that offer immediate results. Positive life change hypnosis, life upgrade 333 system, the 333 method seminars for corporate team building, group hypnosis breakout sessions, high performance training, specialist, optimized 333 and 333 masterclass. Israel resides in Chicago, Illinois. Israel Mandrake is a hypnotist, NLP mind coach, and high performance specialist with 20 years of experience. His obsession with the limitless power of the human mind has led to working with powerhouse executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes. Mandrake is also the creator of the 333 Masterclass, which teaches students how to reprogram positive life changes and experience high performance in daily life. My goodness, this was quite the adventure. Spending time with Israel was truly unique. I really invite you to enjoy this session with us. Learn more about the power of hypnosis. Enjoy it, and with that, I say welcome to our wonderful special guest, Israel Mandrake.
Good day, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another enlivening session on the Meticulous Moments podcast, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing Israel Mandrake. Good day, Israel. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. I'm so happy to be in this session with you. I was looking forward to it so much. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. Awesome.
Yes,
awesome. Yeah, love it. Israel, so you and I mean, we met recently and we've been talking, and we've been in the same meetings per se. And I want to ask you, I know you, I feel like I've known you longer than I actually have. But for the audience members who are not acquainted with you, will you just introduce yourself?
Okay. The easiest way to describe everything that I could possibly say, I'm Israel Mandrake. I absolutely love I live my life to help people with hypnosis. I am by nature a spiritual man who, at this point in life, I just love absorbing all of life. I love, of recent, traveling, helping people. I love martial arts, spirituality, the magic of life, and my greatest obsession is learning the human condition and all the fun things that we can do with it and all of the cool internal programming we can do with everything we've been given.
So, Israel, I wanted to ask you, I mean, we had such a lovely session together. I thoroughly enjoyed our time together. I mean, we were laughing, we were going deep into spirituality, we were talking a lot of concepts. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I wanted to ask you, what's next for you? I know I'm going to the business boot camp.
Yeah, and I'm excited because rumor has it, somebody, I won't mention any names, but somebody needs a bodyguard. And I happen to know someone who's going to be bringing a little bit of Kevin Costner energy. And I will be bodyguarding you for this event. What is that? That is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of January in New Jersey. So rumor has it I'll be being your bodyguard there, Kevin Costner style.
I love that. I love that. I was thinking of the fact that I was going to go alone, and then you and I met, and I thought, my goodness, and you said, you know, Kevin Costner bodyguard, and I was like, yay, I don't have to go to an event on my own in a country that I haven't been in before. So I absolutely need you by my side. Thank you so much for that. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, what cracks me up is that, yeah, I might be bodyguarding you, yet at the same time, I know your background, and I know your background in jiu-jitsu. So yes, I'll be bodyguarding you, but I also have a feeling that, you're a woman who can handle yourself quite well. You know?
Well, you know, like, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, I can't wait though. This is gonna be really, really cool too, because what you've told me before, a lot of the people who are gonna be there, and it's mainly going to be authors, speakers, executives. It's gonna be badass. I can't wait. And I know that particular day, there's rumors of. Well, let's just put it this way. Some of the stuff that I know is going to be going on when I get on stage, I'm going to be working with people who are there and in real time too. So I have a surprise for all of the authors. For every person who is there that is a writer, I have a big surprise for them that day.
Wow. I was so excited, you know, when I heard that you were going to be on board, you and I talked about it, and, you know, it all panned out. I was so excited to hear that you were able to, you know, to make it, that you are going to be there. And yes, of course, I can handle myself. I love martial arts, but I mean, every girl needs a hero by her side. So thank you so much for being there for me as well. And I know the audience is going to be in phenomenal hands. I mean, we're talking about Tim Burt, that's on the Authors Millionaires Academy, Bruce Serban, our friends. Yes, just a wonderful caliber of authors and speakers.
Yeah, and that's actually, you know what, Tim Burt and Bruce Serban, I cannot wait to see them speak again. They actually, their software, Tim Burt's software, the QR market, ever since I've seen that is fantastic. Absolutely mind-boggling. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you too. I can't wait.
Yes, it's going to be amazing to be in the same, you know, venue with everyone and to just share that experience with you. Thank you so much for being there for me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. That's
you know, Israel, I life coaches, and it's very important for me to stay engaged with them because we really discuss every arena of their lives. I mean, they are life coaches themselves. They help other people, and they have to have their lives, for lack of a better word, together.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Not every person that approaches me to be life coach, I don't life coach everyone.
Right.
I select it. I look for a certain fit. Do you do the same? How do you approach that?
You know, especially the last couple of years, my favorite clients, hands down, I love the executive, the professional athlete, the artist that is already fighting to get to the top of their dream. And then I like taking that client and finding out what are those last pieces, because most of the people I've had the opportunity to work with, they already know how to take it and get it and go after it. But what they're missing, everyone breaks out of confidence now again. Everybody, even the most professional athlete, to get them into an unbreakable state of confidence, a flow state, and for them to also, beyond anything, to get onto autopilot. to
Yes.
autopilot the capabilities that they have worked their ass off for their whole life, and then to get them back focused and get them ready to take what they came for in the first place, which is, say, for instance, an athlete, if they have nationals coming up, or if they're NBA, or if they're NFL, yes, or competition, martial arts competition, there's one goal, and that is absolute victory. My second favorite type of client, because, especially because of the world we're in right now, PTSD, trauma, social anxiety, those things that I see in people. Yeah. And I'm saying within one session, 2 sessions, being able to get them from there to remembering the capability of high performance. So for people who've lost their dreams, so I like taking the overachiever beyond the top, and I like taking someone who's forgotten that they belong on top. You know, so that's those are my 2 favorite types of clients. The people who are already ready for it, and then the people who have forgotten, and then taking them right back up to the top so they never forget it again. So
amazing, facilitating that high performance mentality. And it's true what you said, and I love that you are straightforward about it. Here at Meticulous, we get to the good stuff. We say it like it is, and everybody has their off day, and everybody has those times that they feel less confident and they wonder, why am I even doing what I'm doing? And they rethink everything in their lives, and that's a normal condition, but it's not a good, it's a low energy vibration. So we don't want to be there. We want to get involved with Optimize 333 and raise our vibration and stay in that high performance mentality state.
Yes, and you asked what kind of client, or the personality. One thing I learned over and over again is that when you get alone with a client, when they're not in a group or anything like that, we all have the capability of remembering we were kids that grew up and began wearing costumes to become something and someone. And then when we forget that for a moment and we've been hypnotized into believing that we're in adult land and everything that we're doing is as serious as we've been told it's supposed to be, we become trapped. But the moment we can get back into that playful state, into that open-minded, playful, empowered, plugged-in state with the proper psychology, anybody under any circumstance can reprogram their greatness overnight. So.
Wow. I love that. Absolutely love that. And that shines through from the beginning that we met. I saw that you are really a person that gives, you want to help people, you want to uplift, you want to edify, and you use so many various ways to do that. And I think that's very important, especially in our contemporary time, that we, assist people in different ways, different measures, because what works for the one person doesn't necessarily work for the other person. And you shared with me a little bit about Optimize 333. And I found that to be very interesting. Please tell the audience about that.
Okay, so Optimize 333, after over 25 years of being obsessed with everything from hypnosis to every modality of personal and positive change, I just kept absorbing all of it. And a lot of it had to do with, I had been in Vegas for 11 and a half years performing as a mentalist. Well, a mentalist, learning techniques from influence all the way to, when you're doing a show that's based off of the powers of the human mind. And my show when I was in Vegas was called Live, Uncensored, and in Your Mind. So it was an over 21 version. Yeah, so you can imagine in Las Vegas, when people would come to the show, they would arrive at the show with that Vegas energy, with that feel. But what they didn't know was the whole show was baited with suggestion for them to do things when they were in Las Vegas. So even if I got to a casino and the casino had something going on specifically, my job was to be able to translate that information to the audience simultaneously. It's the illusion of a mind reading show, an illusion of all kinds of parts and pieces for the audience entertainment. But the techniques that I was using are the exact same baselines to how to help people recreate, basically helping people with PTSD, trauma, all the way to social anxiety. The deep work was hidden inside of a show.
Yes.
And over all of those years, every single time that I would get off stage, my heart wanted to work with people almost more than entertain.
Mm.
You know, it was just a more of a natural shamanistic instinct, for lack of a better term. So.
Absolutely fabulous. I'm thinking the art of facilitating that, because, consciously they are aware of certain things, but there's so much more going on subconsciously.
Yes.
That they're not even aware of. That is an art in itself, and I think it can be used for good and bad. I mean, that's a little bit scary in a good way.
Well, and this is what was so wild. When I first started, my whole life, I had always been obsessed with the powers of the human mind, the limitless capabilities of what we could do.
Yeah.
But for me, it was still fable. Growing up, it was everything I could absorb, but I didn't understand the technicalities of how does that actually work? What can we do to really reprogram ourselves?
Yeah.
And so when I would go to do these shows, the scary nature of the unknown was the draw, hence the Mardi Gras exterior, what have you, right? And once they got there, a lot of times they came there to party, they came there to have a good time and be entertained. By the end of the show, always, every time afterwards, they would ask, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Hey, what you said on stage, does that translate into the workplace? And and that's what became Optimize 333, was 25 years of obsession with the limitless capabilities of human programming. And now Optimize is exactly that. No matter what client I'm working with, it's always one goal, and that is complete optimization of not only consciousness, but their awareness in what they're doing and what they love to, basically finding them on their purpose, riding that wave.
Amazing. And I really feel like you've opened up for me that the answers that we are looking for are really within ourselves, and people don't have to be stuck. They don't have to stay stuck. There are, various ways to assist them. And that scary feeling is not necessarily scary, because you've got good nerves, right? You're a martial artist. There's good nerves. And then there's bad nerves. And when we do martial arts, the good nerves are actually assisting us to perform well. So to take that view on hypnotism and say, well, it's good nerves, it's actually not scary, but it's exciting. It's like going on an adventure, a discovery.
And it's one of the things that I've realized that is the most wild about the word hypnosis. When people hear hypnosis, everyone's got a different idea of what that means. But the moment they start to experience, everyone says the same thing. I get it. Wow. I've been doing that my whole life. I had no idea. And one of the easiest ways that I've ever learned to explain it is when you're watching television and the actor by name, you've seen him in another movie or her in another movie. And yet next thing you know, you're beginning to be pulled into it emotionally. And that's the whole secret of hypnosis, is when emotion and thought and metaphor combined properly, we can rebrand the way that our body, mind, and spirit are reacting to things that we can, not only take conscious ownership of, but to truly be able to resculpt the way we're experiencing our whole life, to make every moment of it, I guess, for lack of a better term, the way that we wish we could model that inner architecture.
Yeah. I love that. And I was looking forward to this session for that very reason, that we have this misconception about what hypnotism is. We think it's that with the few programs that we've seen on television. If I look over the years of the ministry that I've been in, there's so many problems that sometimes we can't solve in conventional ways. We have this information open to us. We have this energy. We have the skill and knowledge. And now people think, oh no, there's a stigma to hypnotism and no one gets healed, no one progresses, people stay in a rut. So I love the fact that you bring that positivity and you actually educate people about what it really is.
And, truly by using, and how it is, just by changing our name, if somebody goes into the military, one of the first things that they do to be able to help change them completely, they change the name of the soldier. They change the clothing of the soldier. They change the identity of the soldier. Well, when we're going into something, let's say, for instance, a mom is getting ready to put her baby to bed. The moment that she takes her baby, getting ready to put her baby to bed, she takes on a different character. She's in mama bear mode. When she's holding the baby and she's speaking to the baby and telling her bedtime stories before she goes to bed, that's hypnosis. Because a baby's brain up to the age of 7 stays in a brainwave called theta. Theta waves are where we're susceptible to hypnosis. And when a mom says, it's going to be okay, baby, and depending on how old the child is, the things that are said to that child before going to bed for 8 hours a night, if they sleep that long, they marinate in all of that positive language, positive energy, and whatever Mama Bear says is the truth. And that is the secret to hypnosis, our believability relative to what we're intercepting on a subconscious level. You know?
That's a beautiful way of describing that. My goodness, I saw that in my mind's eye. I love the way you describe things and articulate it, because I feel like I'm there, you know, holding the baby and you know, putting them in that state, that theta state. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, you had quite a life journey. I mean, my goodness, Vegas, mentalist, you know, doing hypnotism, martial arts, you know, working with people, upbuilding them, uplifting them. I also heard a little birdie told me that you're a singer. And I want to know, because you are, to me, you are just super talented. I mean, the other day, I think I asked you, is there something that you can't do?
You know, what's really wild is, and the conversations that myself and you have had, I think there's one thing that when I was blessed to grow up in a world with my parents being close to nature, to where I was told from a very young age, anything you imagine you could be, anything. And at a very young age, I hypnotized myself by waking up every day and whatever character was on TV, we just play. When we're kids, we're not in the way of it at all. And over the years, I imagined myself into a world of martial arts. I imagined myself into a world of music. And then finally, I imagined myself somehow, some way. My imagination kept thinking I was going to someday headline in Las Vegas. Next thing I know, I'm looking out in Las Vegas, headlining Vegas and connecting with people. But it never occurred to me until many, many years later, that was the secret to everything. Make believe. First we make it, then we believe it, or first we believe it, then we can make it. And our mind does not know the difference between imagined reality and a reality in which we are creating, manifesting. You know, one person's prayer is another person's magic, right? One person's music is another person's just extension of what mom and dad used to do because they were musicians. It's really wild, but the way that our brain is constructed is to adapt, but also to segregate. And that's what's so wild, because by nature, our brain separates on what things mean. And you know, in the world that we've been living in, we can see people always talking about what we have that is so different about each other.
Yes.
But to me, hypnosis is noticing how all systems, all religions, cultures, ideologies, belief systems, they're all congruent. If somebody can look unbiasedly and we look without any of our own BS or belief systems, and we look in from our heart, we can notice those patterns. And that is how a blues player can play right next to a jazz player, or a Christian can sit right next to a Muslim and still be in perfect harmony. And that's the thing that I think our brains are still evolving towards, because as we can see as the collective, without saying it in any other way than just we're exactly where we should be, but we see where the world is right now, pulsing in this consistent conflict, and yet the spiritual world is coming to the surface and we have no way out.
That's true. That's true. I've always thought the spiritual world is much more tangible than the physical world.
Absolutely.
And we are much more controlled by those external forces than we think. So no, I love that. Absolutely. It's so amazing that you are in the martial arts space. I'm in the martial arts space.
Absolutely.
I'm a singer. There's so many, spirituality is a big thing for me as well. So that's wonderful to know.
And I had an opportunity to hear you sing The Sound of Silence, which was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I haven't heard you sing yet. You'll have to provide me with some links.
Well, I'll tell you this. This will be fun. Speaking of The Sound of Silence, of course, the band Disturbed does a cover of The Sound of Silence. When I was still in bands and I was a professional fighter for about 7 years, I did pro MMA, and this was early in the circuit, so it was very, very different than now. The competition level was, So, but I used to play with the band Disturbed, used to work in those same circles, and it's, to me, music and mentalism, hypnosis, all of that. The whole point is that it was all a child's imagination that had been created without thinking, and then around 2004 is when the hardcore education of what I now share with clients and tour around and share, it really started around 2004 with learning what is called neuro-linguistic programming, clinical level hypnotherapy, hardcore clinical level hypnotherapy. And now, because I work with a lot of executives, authors, speakers, and people of this nature, words like hypnosis, being able to share that with people who've never heard it or really haven't understood it, haven't been able to understand it yet. My favorite feeling in the world is watching them have that aha moment and go, holy shit, I've been doing that for myself my whole life, and I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. I call those penny drop moments, when that penny drops and they're like, oh, this is what's been happening. Yeah, that's amazing to experience, definitely. No, there's a whole world out there that we need to learn more, and I feel like you bring that to the people. And you break down preconceptions and old worldviews, because I said to someone the other day, I've met adults they've moved into adulthood, they have executive jobs, they have businesses, they're entrepreneurs, but emotionally they're stuck as a teenager. And there's nothing worse than seeing an adult throwing a tantrum like a teenager.
Absolutely, especially when they're unaware of it. You know what I mean? Because watching people shapeshift between the two is a beautiful thing. I swear, when I used to watch Dr. Wayne Dyer, and we all love and know Dr. Wayne Dyer, when he would get up on stage and he would come out there with his shoes off, and here's this Jungian psychologist that in front of our eyes over less than 40 years, we watched him evolve from psychologist mind to a man who was tapped into spirit and translated what most people call God. He translated it in such a way that it belonged to everyone, which would make sense considering we're made out of it.
I love it. And I wanted to ask you with the neurological linguistics. I love that term. It says so much. It's so short and strong name, but it says a lot. Is that quite similar to sociology? Where does sociology fit into that? Because we take a different approach with the ministry. We learn sociology, what to say to people, how big the group must be, identifying the extroverts and the introverts, things like that. So how do those things relate, for instance?
Well, since we're talking about congregation and speaking to groups or into masses, neuro-linguistic programming, I'm going to relabel it first, the study of human excellence. Because neuro-linguistic programming, in its essence, truly is the techniques and the study of human excellence. Relative to sociology, the most fantastic part about that is that a speaker, if you are a public speaker, if you are an author, and you understand the basis of NLP or human excellence, the study of human excellence, being able to subconsciously affect crowds of people, especially when you, like yourself, when you're speaking and you're plugging into something bigger, when you're truly channeling in something that is guiding you, and you have an unconscious technique of NLP or the teaching of human excellence, then the parables that you're using, sharing, the metaphors start to change people in mass. So the answer to the question, sociology, the most important part, because like we saw with the riots when we had the last couple of years, we saw people who we know love each other, people who got along, people who loved each other just months before that in the city of Chicago. I would see the behavior. But when you see groupthink and it's negative, or it's being, people are being brainwashed with the same kind of techniques. That's why people get scared of words like hypnosis or NLP, because they sound techie. But really what it is the basis of something so simple. Imagine if you had a jerk like Hitler, a man who was nothing but pure greed and, a psychological terrorist. Now, if you turned it the other way and you had a beautiful, focused teacher who had and understood the psychological tools to have that much power and to give them God consciousness, spiritual consciousness, what would happen with that? Right? So that being what we see our political leaders often misusing, the sociological approach with NLP could change the world in a positive. It could give everybody their power back. Remind people. Yeah.
Please continue. I want to add something when you are done. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's been one of the main things ever since that. A lot of times, if I'm interviewing, if the question comes up about negative hypnosis, the word negative hypnosis, we're watching it on social media. We're constantly seeing that in our marketing. Yeah, people constantly marketing limitation to be able to sell something to someone. Do you feel like you're in pain? Are you without? Are you even that kind of? Yeah, and they're using language that's actually harming. Now, the beautiful part about that is a very little bit of education in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis makes the person who's hearing that no longer be a victim. Because they realize they can hear what politicians are doing. They can hear what negative marketing what kind of effect that can have on a person. And with a few tools, just a couple of tools, a person can not only resurrect from that, but constantly be aware of it and add, I always say, weaponize your sense of humor to where you can look at stuff like that and I see you, and to be able to literally change yourself at that moment. Yeah.
I love that. My walk in spirituality in the last 15 years have helped me to, I always say it's my superpower. I'm very thick-skinned because as a pastor, you can't, be impacted by all the negativity all the time, and you can't always just worry the whole time about what everybody else is saying for you. So as you described this now, I was thinking it's bringing a discernment to the people. NLP brings that discernment to people to see things for what they are.
Absolutely. And, isn't that the best feeling too? I know when you're in a spiritual congregation, when you're speaking to people and you can tell them just one metaphor that can just make sense. Yeah. And how it can change a whole life with a simple parable, simple story, simple metaphor, So.
And that's a propaganda, like you've mentioned. They do this. They keep it away from the masses because they don't want people to be free. They don't want people to make their own decisions. And I'm not into politics at all. I'm just making a comment. But you can't contain what is free. You can't control what is free. And if people come to that realization, they lose a little bit of that grip that they have, on people. The world is, my goodness, the world is a tough place.
Absolutely. And it's been wild to watch too, because from the perspective of a hypnotist that I literally every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the absorption of these techniques and being able to watch what the world's going through right now, it's refreshing because there's very little that the public would need to know not to be victimized by any of it at all. you
It's
know?
so easy.
Yeah. And
It shows us that brainwashing is real.
yes, very much so. Very much so. And I always refer to it as shock, isolation, indoctrination, punishment, reward. When we went into COVID, yeah, we were put into shock. We all were in shock. We were isolated in an idea and then indoctrinated with things that changed the way and changed the flow of the way people felt about life. And it's so wild because just as quick, all of that can be changed into something not only positive, but something that reminds a person of not only their purpose, but that they're simple tools to be able to experience, while there is chaos, a beautiful life on a daily basis. So.
And who doesn't want a beautiful life? I mean, really, and who doesn't deserve it? We all deserve a beautiful life. So being that facilitator for this change, I mean, that is a huge responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. So people with this knowledge, I love the fact that they take ownership of the responsibility that they have. You know, as
Absolutely.
a pastor, I always tell people, I'm going to be responsible for all the people I've taught in the church, not just for me. They're
Right.
going to stand there one day and answer. I'm going to answer for everybody because I was teaching them. So, and the same for you.
Absolutely. It's fun. It's so much fun too, because giving the aha moments is, you know, especially when it comes to, you know, when we're doing now, both myself and you also do a lot of corporate speaking and working with people in professional settings. All of the people working in professional settings, it's amazing. The way that we dress when we go into professional setting is an instant anchor. Just by putting on the clothes that we wear to go into a certain room, that's a piece of hypnosis. The way we dress,
Wow.
right? The kind of perfume or cologne that you're wearing is part of hypnosis. If you spray a certain cologne on and it anchors a certain feeling, all behavior changes, all physiological postures change. Therefore, all neurology is being shifted. As simple as a scent or clothing or momentum of the day, you know?
My goodness, the brain is simply amazing. I think we are going to learn and learn and learn and learn forevermore because, I mean, everything, all the research that's coming to the fore, things that we thought we knew about kids and babies when they were small. I mean, I remember people telling me that babies know that they are naughty when they are 2 years old. That's why they coined the term terrible twos. And then a few years ago, I read a study where they said at 9 months now, a baby can already discern what's right and what's wrong. I mean, that's a big gap, you know. So we keep developing, and it's good that you bring this knowledge to the people because there are some people that will not be subjected or exposed to this. And they also deserve to know and have that decision to make. Not everybody is going to say yes. That's always the case. But some people will catch the gist of it and decide to make a better life for themselves.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes even speaking about the subject, if it disturbs a person's sensitivity or disturbs the way that they've looked at something for a moment, sometimes that's the major breakthrough. I've noticed that a few times where, you know, sometimes for someone not understanding something, that aggravation, that not knowing, slowly but surely, within weeks, they begin to research on their own. They start looking into things of why they felt the misunderstanding. You know, so as you know from jujitsu,
you know, goodness, I just wanted to say, please.
Yeah, martial arts, there's no better lesson than getting your ass kicked. Going into the room, going in and training and always winning and always being victorious, you know, it's wonderful. But the moment that we have to tap out or the moment we have to not win is the moment we start really absorbing the whole principle of the martial art, you know?
You spoke about inducing that shift, you know, just giving a little bit of a glimpse in that darkness. And I was thinking about, you know, when we do grappling or when we do MMA, we try to take that attention away. So we've got levels, right? And we've got direction and we've got speed as well, or slower, and we've got proximity. So I was thinking about when you're fighting your opponent and you're kicking their knee, for instance, what are you really doing? you want to kick their knee or kick their shin because you want their head to come forward so that you can either elbow or knee. So that's like, and then what's their reaction? They have that moment, oh snap, the situation has changed. So I think that's a bit similar to what you described earlier.
Truly. And it's wild too, because, when you go to see, it's so wild because we were talking about jujitsu the other day. And when we were talking about jujitsu, it led into conversations about us speaking to audiences or sharing with audiences. And the thing that comes to mind, when somebody said, I've been asked the question, what's the easiest way for someone who doesn't understand hypnosis to truly absorb it?
Yeah.
When you see a huge concert, a concert filled with people, and all of those people, they don't know each other at all. And then the band that they all came to see begin to play that hit song. And the moment that hit song starts to play, the whole audience begins to move together. They're fully awake. They're overstimulated, and yet they all fall into a trance together, a positive, wonderful memory, and they create something that lasts forever in a positive way. That kind of, to me, that's the metaphor that fits that a lot, where people, when they go play, and they all end up learning in the same idea, the same frequency, and they end up harmonizing in complete harmony with no effort.
Amazing. No effort at all. And the same effect is on everybody. Everybody benefits from that effect.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Now, you are, in my eyes, you are famous for putting the magic into things, the way that you articulate things, the way that you describe. I love that. And I formulated the question here. You take situations and you bring the magic out in them. Is there a particular story that you would like to share with our audience on how hypnotism can really further their progress and development?
Oh, wow. Okay. So to simplify the progress that can come from hypnosis, think about Nikola Tesla. He claims that he plugged into a higher intelligence for him to be able to give to the world what Nikola Tesla shared with the world.
Yes.
The only way that we have to plug into that intelligence is exactly what we have here, our central nervous system. And our brain waves go beta, alpha, theta, delta. And what did he do? The same thing. From beta to alpha, he would have to change his brain waves to be able to plug into the frequency of the source, therefore being able to channel that energy. How can hypnosis benefit people? From downloading information to rebuilding the inner architecture. When someone would say, how could hypnosis do that and that and that? The same way our imagination does absolutely everything that it has ever done.
Yeah.
The art of hypnosis and the story that I'd like to share, I've had people within 5 minutes find their life purpose. And I mean, to sit down to do a hypnosis session and to be able to take someone in and within moments, them realize that they were this close to seeing their whole life purpose. And sometimes they'll see it in symbols. Sometimes their story will reform inside their mind during the hypnosis session.
Yes.
I've also, with professional athletes, if you take someone like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or all the way back to the Olympic trials, when hypnosis is being used for sports, sometimes it is just a little tweak, a little motion, from jujitsu, or you see with a basketball player or a golfer. When they were being hypnotized, Michael Jordan was hypnotized to believe that when he jumped with the basketball, that the hoop would actually get larger for him to dunk it.
Oh.
That was the thing that the hypnotist that worked with Michael Jordan, he helped him truly see in his mind that the hoop was simply open for him to slam dunk. In all of the different sessions, and over the last 20 years, I've done so many sessions, and I would say probably the most profound would be watching people find their purpose in less than 15 minutes, watching people who had been stumped when it came to inspiration, and that inspiration instantaneously being unlocked. I've had a handful of executives that their whole goal was to come up with an idea for them to create their, what their whole life's work would make sense if they could just manifest their software, their tool, their coaching program, whatever it was they were after. And to watch them be able to tap into something, and for some reason, they felt an autopilot they have never felt before. And so some people would call it inspiration. And inspiration means to be in spirit, right? Yes. To be in spirit. So why is it that hypnosis seems to help people become inspired? Because when we change our brain waves, we become closer to the frequency of what we're calling God, which is the collective information that belongs to everybody. Yeah. But like we say, the way we're constructed, the way our brains are constructed is to see the differences. But when we go into hypnosis and it's done, positive life change hypnosis, when it's done to change someone's life positively, if it's done properly, a person can open up inspiration. They can open up their capabilities and their abilities like they never have before, and it becomes autopilot. Now, probably the most interesting of all of that, confidence is when being comfortable with being competent in something. And as we all know, when we rehearse something in our mind, that's one step. But when we emotionally rehearse something in our mind where the outcome is repeated enough to the mind knows no different, then it becomes an autopilot response. It's one of my favorites is if you look at martial arts. If you punch at most people, they flinch because that would be the natural trigger that they have. But with hypnosis, in a very short amount of time, they can train for someone to strike at them and for them to comfortably move their head out of the way. And so
there's so many things that popped up in my mind as you were saying that, and you ended now with martial arts, and I was actually, my mind always goes to that. I was thinking of martial arts again. How are you effective in your martial arts? You have to use your breathing and your body, soul, and spirit have to be in alignment. Because otherwise your moves are, they're not effective and they're not strong and they're not snappy. You only get that snappiness if all of you is really focused at where you are. And hypnosis, in 15 minutes to find your life purpose. I know people that have gone to so many seminars. They follow, I think, what is his name? There's a pastor in America, Benny Hinn. People like that perform there. They pay all this money to find their purpose, and they go home the same way that they went the morning, and hypnosis can fix all that. You don't have to search for years and years. You can find it quickly.
And this is what's so wild. Imagine this for anyone who is listening to this right now. Imagine if you were born in nature with no books, no prophecy, no one telling you anything about who or what you were supposed to be.
No tinkles and bells.
Yeah, that same spirituality you could find anywhere in congregation, you could find right there in nature. All of the programming that a hypnotist could do for you, if you knew what those tools were, which I love teaching, by the way, it's one of my favorite things to do, is to teach people these tools, not just to take them through sessions and to, I never doubt. There is zero doubt when I'm working with a client. I know that we're going to hit their goal. What they're after is always easier than they believe it is. Yes, because the techniques of hypnosis are the techniques of internal architecture being changed and the psychology necessary to step people over what's usually this close. Yeah, and it's helping people find inspiration, unbreakable confidence, flow states, the ability to get out of their own way, to break procrastination, all of that, all within understanding the basics. Absolutely.
So opening up those closed minds and making them realize that potential is already there.
Right.
It's there. pushed it down. Things happen. People go through things. They get disappointed. They go through trials and tribulations. They lose faith in other people. They build those walls and they push everything down. So, and you really help them to bring all of that out. That's wonderful. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I want to ask you, what type of individual do you like to work with? How do you discern if a client will be a good fit for you? Because I'll tell you why I asked that question. As a life coach, I life coach life coaches. But I don't life coach everyone that approaches me. Do you have a similar process? Do you find that fit or?
I have two kinds of people that I love to work with. One, the professional badass that knows what they want and they're after it. The professional athlete, the badass executive, the person who's ready to go get it already, and they're already there, but there's something that they can't figure out, and we break through and we get them there. And that's that. To take people who are already after it and already determined and taking them to a whole new level. That's number one. And that's my I love that. Yeah, that is that is the best feeling in the world, to take someone who's given everything they've got and taking them the one step higher rapidly. I love that.
Thinking back of something that I heard at a conference, a spiritual conference, the pastor, I forget his name. It was so many years ago. He said, when we are small, we have this stationery case and we have this lovely little table and these coloring books and all these colorful crayons. And then, we think the world is still magical and amazing and nothing is too difficult, and we, daydream and it's just amazing. And then we grow up. And
Absolutely.
I believe his words were, and life steals our crayons.
100%.
And we get to 12. Yeah, and everything is grey and dreary and depressing, and we only have a pen and a pencil and an eraser and a ruler, and nothing is beautiful anymore, and we don't believe in magic, and that made such an impression on me. And I feel like you bring that color back. You give that color back.
I absolutely love that. And the magic of today is always the science of tomorrow. Everything that has ever been out of human comprehension and was magic, as time goes by, which seems to be the only restraint on this in the world that we're in now, time is the one thing that measures where we are in our lives. Yeah. So when somebody does that, I love that. Can you say that again, by the way? Life steals our crayons. Is that what you said?
Yes. He said, life steals our crayons.
Yeah, that is powerful. That's cool.
Great, dreary life, this outlook. Yeah. So I feel like hypnotism can bring all of that back, 100%. Bring restoration. Yeah.
And what's really wild is that hypnosis can be used. When I was in Las Vegas, one of my favorite type of person to work with were speakers. I was speaking at Lake Las Vegas this was around 2004. I was speaking at Lake Las Vegas in obviously Las Vegas, and all of the best speakers that were coming from that circuit, when they were there, you could see that every single one of them had the best intention to be able to communicate with their audience. I would take these speakers and work with them for a short amount of time, and they were no longer in front of an audience speaking to them about their book or whatever they might have been speaking about. We reframed who they were, why they were up there, and it changed not only their energy, but they could reach that audience in a way where you could see the audience's emotions be changed overnight. So if we did a weekend and they spoke on the beginning of the weekend, and as we went through certain drills and certain learning processes, it changed. As you know, if you get in front of the right audience and you can channel that energy, they should be able to feel what you're feeling for that to be harmony. Like the metaphor we were speaking about before with going to see a great band. Nobody in the audience watching the band is trying to feel that. Everyone is truly feeling it,
Lovely, lovely. You've had quite a journey. And I wanted to ask you this question because you're a very interesting person. You're multi-talented, and you do all these things. You have a heart for people, and I'm sure you've had your trials and your tribulations and your good times and your less than good times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So I want to ask you, if you look back over your life, is there anything that you would have changed? If you could.
For a great portion of my life, I wanted to expand consciousness. And to this day, I always am living in expanded consciousness. That's what I truly believe. We all come here with a certain purpose. I feel like my gift is translation, my ability to take extremes and show people that those extremes not only belong to all of us, but we are so similar. Dr. Greg Braden, you know who Dr. Greg Braden is? Yes. He's one of the people that speak on a circuit like Dr. Wayne Dyer. And Greg Braden, he was a scientist that worked for the US government. And he took all of his money and put it into understanding how all of our cultures together, what we have in common. What is the one thing? What are the threads that bring us all together? Okay. So for myself, over all of these years and all the adventures, what would I have changed? I would have spoken that way from day one, because I always felt it in my heart. But for years, by nature, by youth, I was always bringing conflict into my life. If I could go back and rewind, I would have found the harmonies in life. I would have spoke to people with more respect. Yeah. Well, when I was in my youth, I was very aggressive. I was a fighter. I was a fighter, wild man, but all of those things that I learned during that, and overall I was in Vegas for 11 plus years. So needless to say, I went out there with intention to absorb all Vegas had to offer. And needless to say, that was what got me into hypnosis, all of the repair that I had to do to myself, my mind, my body, my spirit. I had to go from that world into the world now to where I can plug into people and to truly hear their heart and what they need. That's what I would have done in my youth. I want to say so much in my youth. I would have collectively through life looked for the harmony, not for the disruption. Right.
You would have sought the peace, instead of the destruction.
I was very attracted to disruption. But needless to say,
wow.
as you know, as a Martian, and I'll use a metaphor to make sense of this.
To say, well, we are fighters, so we love a good. It is in us.
The answer to the question, and in a metaphor to make it simple, I paid attention to the punches more than to the opportunities of and it was a lot of fun.
I think it had to happen. It had to happen.
Absolutely.
What works out, it's the way it's supposed to. It does. I'm very fascinated with the term mentalist. And I've always, and you've shared with me, but the audience weren't in our call. So I know, you've shared with me what it is, but now that we are talking about that, would you please explain to them, how does a mentalist do what he does? How does he read people? How does that work?
Okay, now this gets really fun because most people know mentalism through NBC's The Mentalist.
Yes.
Now, when we hear mentalism, most of the time it's the general public would think it's a forensic psychologist to a certain degree, because that's usually the character that's played. Mentalist in its essence, if you go back to the roots of it, it's everything from studying psychological influence, studying how to influence ourselves. If you see a mentalist on stage, you are usually seeing a 70% show of combination of psychological tricks for fun mixed with real hypnotic technique, real influence technique, and that combination together makes a great show. But the truth about mentalism is within that art form are some of the most powerful tools that I've ever seen in my life. There's a technique called Equivo or equivoque. You'll hear it pronounced both ways, and it means psychologically forcing an outcome of a person's opinion. Now, on stage, you might use that to make somebody choose something on stage for entertainment. But in real life, what could you use it for? If you were working with your children, you could teach them, or should I say, influence them to make better choices, right? Yes. I would use that technique with a client when a client's leaning into fear or something that's disrupting what they're after. And I will use it to lean them into the possibility of, what if everything that you're thinking is a complete illusion? What if actually you're right on the verge of success? You know, and to be able to lean people into successful thinking, positive ways to approach a problem that they may not see. Yeah, mentalism is yes, absolutely. And mentalism is the art of entertaining people with the powers of the human mind. So
that's a wonderful way to say it. Yes. You are a very joyful person. You're always the same. You're always happy and, on the go. What brings you that joy? What brings you joy in life?
Brings me joy in life is, in the last couple of years, honestly, I know it may sound, I really genuinely love working with people. I love working with people, meeting with people, speaking to you right now. I love speaking about these subjects. The things that really make my heart feel good, spending time with family, spending time with open-minded, loving people. I love breaking paradigms of human consciousness. I love speaking in front of groups and having them have that. Dr. Wayne Dyer, which I've mentioned a couple times, he used to call it satori. And it's the aha moment. When somebody for a moment goes, oh, I get it. That's what I get high on. I love talking to an audience and seeing that audience go, I never thought of it that way before. That's one of the things that makes me feel good. So.
Amazing. You are just high on life. I mean,
very much so. Yes.
As long as you are surrounded by people, they generate your happiness. That's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
What is your life dream? Yes, no, please continue.
Oh, that was it?
Oh, no, I thought you wanted to say something. So tell me, what is your life dream? Has it always been the same or has it changed? Sometimes, and I think you touched on that in our session, sometimes kids dress up and they fantasize, they want to be a fireman or they want to be a policeman or whatever the case may be. What was yours and did it change?
Absolutely. I have always, since the day, as long as I can remember, what is now called UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, all of that. I always wanted to become the undisputed champion of exactly that. And I was lucky enough to do that in my 20s. I got an opportunity to fight world Thai boxing champion Mark Streeter.
Oh, yes. My goodness. Okay.
We beat him. And I got to fight for many, many years. And my dream to this day in my heart, that would have been one of the dreams. Now in my life, I love working with combat athletes. I like working with executives. I love working with executives in the right state of mind that are ready to do the same thing a combat athlete would do. And that is fight for it and have the courage to truly go. I don't have to follow the rules that I've been given. I follow the rules that I feel in my heart. That's the kind of executive that I like to work with. I like the rule breakers, right?
Yes.
Because the rule breakers. Absolutely. And what is my dream now? I still, to this day, like I say, I'm a martial arts fan, always loving to watch the fights in this, to take what I know inside of that and to take that to my clients, to show them how to fight, to show them how to learn. And what I mean by fight is to go get what they're after, to go get it and to not stop, even when it gets heavy, when it gets scary, to fight even harder, you know?
Yeah,
and
I did.
You know,
I did an impromptu. Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
Well, I was going to say the odd part is there's a lot of crossover. Me and you spoke about it, the breathing techniques.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take someone who is completely incapable of being able to get back, or they feel that they are incapable of getting back in sync with what it is they're after, into with a few simple breathing techniques for them to realize they just hijack their central nervous system and they no longer are a victim to whatever it may be that's been throwing them off, you know?
Biologically as well. Every single level can be addressed.
Absolutely.
And I think people, what upsets me sometimes is I see that people use the wrong measures to try and fix, levels that are not working in the manner they want it to work. So there's a lot of examples about that, but I'll just say this weekend I had the conference and there was an impromptu session because one of the speakers, they were in Palm Springs, also at a conference, but their schedule changed. So they were going to move over to the next day. So all of a sudden I have 60 minutes to kill and I don't have a speaker. So who's going to speak? I have to speak. So I just started talking, about martial arts and about life, and I did an impromptu session, and I came up with the following. I took something that I remembered from when I was young. I was always an athlete. I've always been an athlete, cross country, you name it, tennis, hockey, whatever. So on Saturdays, our trainer would drop us off 10 kilometers. I guess that's about 6.2 miles. I'm not sure what the difference are there, but you guys, you speak in miles, we speak in kilometers. He would drop us 10 kilometers out of town and he'd leave us there. Right? And you had to get back to town. I mean, and at some point he's going to get tired and go to town and there won't be anyone at home. So you had to run. Yes. And I told them that, when you get about to the first kilometer or the third mile, you have your stride. You started off slowly. You warmed up a little bit. Now you are in your stride. Now you're kind of running and you know the markers. This tree is about so far and so far. But you're about halfway through. Your mind starts getting involved. So now your mind starts telling you, oh my goodness, the sun is in your eyes. The sun is so bright this morning. Yeah. Oh, you're breathing. I mean, your throat is it's burning a little bit. You have to stop and drink. This is what your mind is saying. You have to stop and drink a little bit of water. Or, you're feeling so tired. Your legs, your thighs are not feeling good today. You did too much swimming yesterday. And here by the first kilometer, this starts happening. So some people, some of my peers, they would start jogging slower. Some would start walking. And some would stand. Now, I don't know in your dojo, but in our dojo, if you stand like this, you get punched in the face or in the stomach because it's very disrespectful. You don't stand like that in your dojo. But when you used to run, some of my friends would go and stand like this. Or they would touch your knees. Now, you'll know in kickboxing or all-stars tournaments, if you go and you bend forward and you touch your knees, you are showing your opponent you're tired, so they take you out. You've lost.
Right,
and
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and others would go sit down. And I said to the audience, if you get to that place, because it's all in the mind, right? If you get to that place by the 5th kilometer, the 3rd mile, and you feel the sun in your eyes and the sun, the sweat is dripping down your face and the soles of your feet are warm or your thighs are sore and stuff. If you just push through, because you've really done this a million times before, all the other Saturdays before you've done this, you can do this, but now your mind is getting in the way. So I said, if you push through on that 1st kilometer, your muscle memory starts to kick in. You get that second breath. And I mean, you can run and run and run and run, and you don't get tired.
100%.
And I believe my point to them was, if you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and there's a difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because they approach business and life and money differently. Very much. If you are in that space and you have this project or you have this task or you're busy with whatever it is that you want to do to accomplish your dream, halfway through, you're going to get tired and you're going to start doubting yourself and saying, oh, no, this is not right. Oh, I don't feel good enough today. I don't want to go to this meeting. And if you can just push through that,
yes,
you will just keep going. And if you build that momentum, it's so hard to sit down. You'll know you're an athlete. Stand up and start
absolutely.
running. Yeah.
Which is so wild. Isn't it wild? Because both are suggestion. When a person starts to believe that or feel that, or they're about to give up, what are they doing? They're beginning to use the power of suggestion. That internal dialogue is hypnotizing them to believe maybe it would be a little more comfortable if I just cut it out and sit down. And yet a little tweak in suggestion, and all of a sudden changing the meaning, I'm about to sit down.
Yeah.
Now reframing that, even inside their own mind. Yes. What does sit down mean? If I sat down, it symbolically means the opposite of what I'm after. And so forth. It's so fascinating how
I loved it. And then I anchored them in the following manner. I started by saying the following. Have you ever seen these movies where there's this, I don't know why, but the naughty boys always have freckles, right?
Right.
Look at this little boy. He's got all these freckles and he's standing by this very expensive vase. And he's about to flip that vase over. And the mom comes around the corner and she's looking at him. Don't you dare. What does he do? What does he do in the movie? He tips it over and he runs away. And I said, when you get to that 5th kilometer or that 3rd mile,
right?
If you're there, you can run slower, you can walk, you can stand, just not with your arms on your hips, but you can stand and take your breath. But if you want to sit down, I want them to see, and I said to them, I want you to see me standing there saying, don't you dare sit down.
Yeah,
so I started using that as an anchor, but it was so much fun. But it is all in the mind. It's all in the mind.
It truly is too. And it's so wild because, these things, even when you're talking about somebody starting to give themselves those suggestions, how simple, and you use the word anchor, to anchor something in. We constantly hear the word triggered. Triggered to most people means reactive. Anchor, choosing not only what internal dialogue, but what that internal dialogue means and where it's valuable and why it's valuable. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Mm-hmm. Now, I have another question for you.
Yes.
I know you're busy with Optimize 333.
Yes.
And what is next for you? I know we are both going to be at the Armour Business Bootcamp 2023. What else do you have going on?
This is wonderful because there's been a documentary I've had in mind for quite some time. And I've been looking into and negotiating concepts of actually creating a documentary where a lot of the explanations and framing for people to truly understand what Optimize 333 is about, especially like today, we spoke a lot about the spirituality. But for people who say, for instance, don't approach it or don't think about spirituality, it could be considered energy, or it could be considered faith in themselves, things of that nature. My real dream, you asked what the collective dream is, and that is to truly be the best in the world at what I'm doing, truly help people to spend the rest of this life truly thinking about manifesting other people's dreams from an extension of my own heart, because all of my dreams are coming true as rapid as I can think them. And to be able to share that with other people, every day I wake up and every dream that I have is coming true. Everything is materializing. All of the people that I'm fantasizing about meeting, I'm hugging the next day practically. And with that kind of, I feel blessed. I feel gifted. I feel absolutely enamored by how beautiful life is. And that's what I feel like doing. I feel like sharing that with people during the times that people are saying times are hard, helping them with the perception of them renaming what the times are.
Yes.
Taking the time that the story that they're in is on purpose. The story that they're experiencing is absolutely where they're supposed to be. But the perception of how they're experiencing it, that's what I want to help people with, is have them be able to look at that experience and go, hell yeah, that's what I came here for. And to be able to dominate that and love that and to the magic of this life.
That's a noble cause. It's a selfless cause. Yeah, that's lovely. That's beautiful, beautiful. And you deserve that. You absolutely do.
Thank
we
you.
are down to our final question. My goodness, time has flown.
I am ready. Fun. This has been fun. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it has been fun. I agree. Do you have any words of wisdom for the audience?
Yeah. Let me think for a second. Words of wisdom to this audience. Yes, absolutely. And that is everything you have ever been taught, everything you have been programmed to believe, and every single thing that you fear is only steps away to being resculpted and refashioned to guide you from a place of purpose, a place of fearlessness, and a place of absolutely understanding yourself. In the world that you're in right now, all of the so-called distractions are actually purposefully being given to you as elevations, something for you to plug into your source, learn what hypnosis is. And if you don't call it hypnosis, call it concentrated conditioning. Rename it if you have to. But that would be the one thing I'd want to share with everybody, with a little bit of knowledge about hypnosis is what I'm calling it, but call it what you will, mixed with the understanding of this beautiful life you have. Every dream you could possibly imagine, one can be manifested, and every emotion you have can be changed into something that is fashioned to your liking. Life can kick ass 24/7. I promise you. That's it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful. I love it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I mean, we see it in your life, and we feel that excitement that you have, to help others and just to enjoy life and to be the best that you can be. And that is really, it's going to flow over into your work and your ministry, because I believe that you're anointed for what you are doing. So keep on doing what you are doing. Thank you so much for your inspiration that you've brought, your knowledge and your wisdom, making time for the audience. We appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you. This has been a lot of fun, and I've been looking forward to this a lot, and it's great to see you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you too in New Jersey. This is going to be wonderful.
Yes, my goodness, it's going to be an amazing event. Absolutely. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Much love.
Thank you. Much love. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, thank you so much for joining us. My goodness, what a wonderful session it was. I'm going to make Israel's details available. Network with him, follow him on social media, and let us cheer him on this wonderful journey. And remember, we'll see you in the next session. Goodbye.
See you guys. We'll do this as the first
time. You and I are going to have fun and talk other things.
I'm ready for the question.
In a flow, absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. All right.
In 3, 2, 1.